most professionals, whether it's people in the healthcare field, doctors, lawyers, accountants, whatever the case may be, their profession is just that. It's their profession. It's the thing that helps to generate income and provide a service in the marketplace, right? But it's not that stamp. It's not that unique, specific solution to a meaningful problem. Now, some people, their purpose is their profession. You'll notice it right off the bat. Some physicians, their profession is their purpose. Like my pastor, for example. I mean, his profession is his purpose. I mean, he loves doing it every single day. I mean, like his purpose and his profession align. But for most people, they are two separate things for the vast majority of people. And you've got to get clarity on that purpose. You've got to get clarity on what your specific stamp is in the world. And it's not until you get clarity on that you will find fulfillment. Hey, you guys, what's up? Welcome to the More Than Medicine podcast with Dr. Brad. And I'm your host, Dr. Brad. And I'm super excited for this first episode of More Than Medicine podcast. I help physicians create greater impact, income, and influence beyond your current clinical practice so that you can live a fulfilled life. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to do just that, to have you, the physician, live a more fulfilled life by creating more impact, more income, and more influence. So, if you have ever thought that you felt stuck and unfulfilled with your current clinical practice, or if you have ever questioned, did I make the right decision in medicine? Or if you've ever thought, I just desire to have a greater impact than what I'm currently doing right now as a physician in my current practice. Or if you've ever thought, is this it? Is there more out there for me than this podcast is for you? And just to answer your question up front, yes, there is more. There is definitely more. And we're going to break that down over the course of the episodes of this podcast. But as I get started, I want to share with you my story so you can understand kind of how this idea of the More Than Medicine podcast evolved. And so it really evolved as a opportunity to share with others some of the same struggle that I had, some of the same struggle that you may have with some of the thoughts that I just talked about, right? And I simply want to help physicians go through the journey that I've gone through. Physicians who say, I just feel like there's something more. I feel like there's a greater impact to be had. I'm wondering, is this it? And to take them from frustrated to fulfilled, and to be able to create greater impact on the world, which is very possible. So I just want to help you do that again. So, things started for me multiple years ago. I've been practicing as a physician now. Right now it's 2022. So I'm going on my 12th year of practicing. And started out as a double-boarded emergency medicine and sports medicine physician. And, when I first got started in my practice, I was super excited and just got done with residency, just got done getting beat down in residency and fellowship. So I finally get a chance to go out into the real world and practice as a physician. And, I started out real hungry, man, just building my practice as a sports medicine physician, also working in the ER, working a bunch of hours, making great money, working here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, working with multiple professional teams as both an assistant and head team physician. And it was like all the things that I had aspired to achieve had come true. And so, I was this successful physician, but I started noticing a few years into this journey that despite my success, there was a lack of fulfillment. And I was what I like to describe as this outwardly successful but secretly stuck physician. I remember just feeling like I couldn't figure it out. And I also didn't feel like I could talk to anybody about it, because it's like, dude, you're a doctor. Like, what do you have to be, unfulfilled about? And I feel like maybe, my colleagues didn't feel the same necessarily. Some maybe did, but I just remember feeling like, I'm just unfulfilled. I'm not happy. And so, I was working in the ER at the time, and I thought it was the ER. So I tried to change jobs. I tried changing where I worked. I was working at a community hospital. It was really busy. And I was like, you know what, maybe it's just too busy for me. So I tried changing the setting of where I worked, worked at a different ER. Well, that ER was pretty busy. And so I thought maybe I got to go to another ER. So I worked at a freestanding ER. And then I tried working less hours and thought maybe I just need to work less, right? So I tried to take more vacation. I tried doing side hustles, which, by the way, nothing's wrong with side hustles. We'll talk about that over the course of this podcast journey that we go on. And no matter what I did as it related to my profession, or tried to work less hours, or whatever the case may be, no matter what I did, I always ended up in this place of lacking a certain amount of fulfillment. Like an itch just wasn't getting scratched. And at the time, like I said, I felt stuck. I felt unfulfilled. I felt like life lacked meaning and depth, at least my career. And I was frustrated, right? This spilled over into my personal life. I don't think I was a very welcoming person to be around. This spilled off into my marriage, my relationship with my kids. I really wasn't showing up as the person I would like to be. And ultimately, I had this thought of, how did I spend all of this time, money, effort, and energy to go after the goal that I wanted to, and I'm not nearly as fulfilled as I thought I would be? It's almost like having this aspiration to climb Mount Everest, and you finally get up there, and the view isn't nearly as compelling as you thought it would be. And I'm just wondering, is this it? Like, is this it? Is this all that I signed up for? And again, I'm like, I don't think my colleagues feel this way. So I felt stuck. Like, it wasn't anything I could do, and thinking like, is this what it's going to be like for the next 20 or 30 years? Right? You've worked your tail off to get here. Do you really have any other options? Right? And if you've ever felt that way, listen, I completely understand, and I get it, because I've been there. But what I hope to do, at least in this first episode, in this introduction to More Than Medicine podcast, is to let you know that just because you're there now doesn't mean that it has to be that way. And, it got to a point that I can remember dreading going to work, dreading going to the ER, and even sometimes to the sports medicine clinic, just being like, this is just not fully what I signed up for. And, I think people saw it too. My partners would ask me if I was okay. And, I just kind of worked through it. And that was when I was like, I got to figure something out, because I believe there's a way to be both successful and fulfilled. I believe there's something, I have to figure it out. And I went on this journey, and this journey included a combination of several things. It's what I like to call the 3 C's of accelerated growth. And it included a combination of coaching. I received some coaching from several different people. There was curriculum involved, meaning just getting new knowledge, right? Starting to read books. It wasn't necessarily some level of like formal education. I didn't like go back to school or undergrad or a new residency. This was books, man, books that were recommended, a wide range of books, which I'll be talking about here on this podcast. And and community. It took a community of people. It took a village, in essence, to kind of get me through this. So this were different friends. Some of these friends were physicians, some weren't physicians, some were my mentors, some were business people, but it took a community of different minded people, and to kind of get unstuck. And I'll share with you what ended up happening over time, because life's vastly different now. But here is one of the key things that I discovered, and that one of the key points that I want to make, and that I want you to get, that I really want you to receive from today's episode, which is that I discovered that my fulfillment was tied to a lack of clarity on my purpose. Now, you hear this word purpose get thrown around. I know some of you may be listening to me like, oh, somebody talking about purpose again. But let me just break something down. Just bear with me here for a minute. My fulfillment, or my lack of fulfillment, was tied to a lack of clarity on purpose. And the way I really describe purpose, just bear with me, is what I like to call your stamp on the world, which is simply an acronym for your specific solution to a meaningful problem. Let me say that again. It's the ability to find clarity on your specific solution to a meaningful problem. And it's not that medicine for you is not a somewhat meaningful problem to solve. It has meaning. It has meaning to your patients. It has meaning to the overall healthcare. But it may not be your specific, unique solution to a meaningful problem. And everybody has a specific, unique solution to a meaningful problem. And once you find what that is, I'm going to say this over and over and over again, it is not until you find what your stamp on the world is, it's not until you find clarity on that, which is where you'll find fulfillment. And that's just it. And see, there were three things that I had to understand on this journey. And so I just want to give it to you up front, so you have to go through all the years that I went through. Or maybe you did go through some years and you finally found this podcast. And I want to accelerate your process. I want to accelerate your journey. There's three things that I had to understand. First thing was that your fulfillment, or my fulfillment, was really based on my purpose and not my profession. It's the same thing for you. Your fulfillment is based on your purpose, not your profession. What I mean by that is there's a difference in those things. Many of us went on this journey to become a physician as our profession, thinking that it was also at the same time simultaneously fulfilling our purpose. But in actuality, the reality is this, is that most professionals, whether it's people in the healthcare field, doctors, lawyers, accountants, whatever the case may be, their profession is just that. It's their profession. It's the thing that helps to generate income and provide a service in the marketplace, right? But it's not that stamp. It's not that unique, specific solution to a meaningful problem. Now, some people, their purpose is their profession. You'll notice it right off the bat. Some physicians, their profession is their purpose. Like my pastor, for example. I mean, his profession is his purpose. I mean, he loves doing it every single day. I mean, like his purpose and his profession align. But for most people, they are two separate things for the vast majority of people. And you've got to get clarity on that purpose. You've got to get clarity on what your specific stamp is in the world. And it's not until you get clarity on that you will find fulfillment. And as a matter of fact, if this podcast is compelling to you, it's probably because your clarity on your stamp is calling, clarity on your purpose is calling. But the first thing I had to understand is that there's a difference between my purpose and my profession. There's a difference between my career and my calling, that calling being that stamp. And for many of us, we're expecting to get what we wanted to get out of our purpose from our profession. And it's not the case, right? That's what we wanted. That's what we originally signed up for, is that our profession ends up fulfilling this need and desire to have a significance and an impact and meaning, into the world. And it would also give meaning to us, but it's separate. It's separate for many of us. And I think you probably fall in that category if you're really relating to this idea. Best way I can think about it is, I'm from the Houston area, and the closest beach to Houston is Galveston. Now, if you know anything about Galveston, Galveston is the closest beach by definition, but if you ever go to Galveston, it's not much of a beach, right? I used to joke about it all the time. I still joke about it. And I call Galveston, they call it G-Town, but I call it Gravy Town because the beach looks like gravy. So it's like going to Galveston expecting to see a beach that looks like Fiji. You're not going to get it. And no matter how many times I go to Galveston, I'm not going to get the experience of Fiji because it's just not what that is. So oftentimes we're going to our profession or our career expecting to get out of it what we want to get from our purpose and our calling. So once you identify that, you say, well, that there's a difference between the two. And I've been looking for an outcome in one place that I'm actually supposed to get at a different place, right? I've been looking to get Fiji from Galveston, right? But you will find your fulfillment as you find clarity on that stamp. Second thing I had to realize was not all doctors are designed for the same service. Not all doctors are designed for the same service. I think there are three, now I'm generalizing this. I think there are three types of doctors. I think and they all begin with a C. You'll start to learn, I got this alliterative thing, but it helps you to remember when you think about it this way. There are three types of doctors, three C's. There's your clinical doctor. This is the doctor who the clinical aspect of medicine, practicing medicine, whether it's in the clinic, in the OR, whatever the case may be, but the practice of medicine, the clinical practice of medicine is their calling. Their profession is their purpose. And they were built for the front lines of medicine and they enjoy it. And yes, there are some challenges with reimbursement. There's some challenges with insurance, and there are some challenges with, there's just challenges with healthcare. However, it is still worth their time and effort to go about their calling, to go about their purpose. So despite circumstances that are difficult in the profession, they still will move forward, and they enjoy it. It brings a certain level of satisfaction and fulfillment. That's the clinical doc. Then you've got the corporate doc. This is the doctor who is more of the administrator. They're the leader. They got into medicine. Yes, they had to do some clinical things, but now they're looking for a leadership track. But they actually enjoy a leadership track. They're not looking to do leadership because they're just tired of clinical, which is oftentimes what happens, right? So it's not like that the corporate aspect is a fallback to the clinical. They actually like probably, like healthcare policy and public health or being an administrator in the hospital, but this is the corporate aspect of physicians. And then there is the creator. The creator is the person who is stuck in the micro level of medicine, meaning the day-to-day, but they think macro, right? That was me. I was like, I'm thinking big, greater impact. Not that what the person who does clinically on the front lines is not impactful. They are much needed. However, they're the creators, the one that says there's a big problem to solve, or there's a unique problem that I was designed to solve. Sometimes within medicine, sometimes outside of medicine, but either way, there is a problem that I'm supposed to be solving that I'm not scratching the itch. These are the creators, the innovators, the big thinkers, the ones who feel like they don't fit where they are, right? And I believe all of us fit into generally one of those three categories. If you listen to this, quite possibly you're a creator, okay? And we need each of those people, okay? And then the last thing I had to understand was that everybody, no matter what, no matter who you are as a physician, and not just physicians, but everybody in life has a unique stamp. Everyone has a unique solution to a meaningful problem, something that means something to you. Everybody has one. Everybody has a designed assignment and purpose. No different than the way my phone was built for a purpose to call and now text and now take pictures, right? The way this pen was designed for a purpose to write, no different than the way a paperclip was designed to hold pieces of paper together. A paperclip cannot work like a pen, and a pen cannot work like a phone. It has a designed purpose, a designed assignment. And when it tries to operate outside of that, it will not be fulfilling its designed purpose. It's not fulfilling its designed stamp on the world. And now here's what's interesting about that is a car is meant to drive, but you've got certain cars that are meant to be off-road. You got certain cars that are meant to be speed cars. And you can't take a racing car that's meant for the streets off-roading in the mud. Certainly you can, but it's not going to be fulfilling its purpose and its full potential in that. It won't be fulfilling its purpose. So it's no different than us, right? We found a profession because we are high achieving and motivated that we would do well in, but it didn't necessarily guarantee that it would fulfill everything. Now, here's what I'm here to tell you. You did not make the wrong decision. You did not make the wrong decision as a physician. If anything, this has been part of the process of you developing your stamp. And oftentimes what you learned as a physician and the skills and the proficiencies and the knowledge that you gain from that is going to help you solve that specific solution or be able to understand clarity on that specific solution for a meaningful outcome for you. So it's going to be some of you use to solve whatever problem that is. And what I hope to do is help you find what that stamp is over the course of this podcast. Okay. Now, as a result of me understanding these three things, okay, that my fulfillment was based on my purpose, not my profession, that not all doctors are designed for the same service, and that everybody has a unique stamp. Life changed significantly for me. It changed significantly for me. And the three outcomes that happened as a result of those things, it was greater impact, it was greater income, it's greater influence. And it turned into an Amazon best-selling book that I wrote. Now, me specific, right, my stamp, right, my general overall big stamp is to develop individuals. It's to develop individuals into their best. That is my stamp. Now, the specific stamp, right? Because there's levels to this, right? The overall stamp for me is just, dude, I was designed to develop people to be their best. Now my specific stamp in this area is, like I mentioned before, is to help physicians to be able to create greater impact, income, and influence beyond their clinical practice so they can live a fulfilled life, right? Prior to doing this, I was coaching men. I was doing executive coaching specifically for men, trying to help men who were professionals succeed both in their work and life, right? But I saw such a great need for physicians that I said, you know what, this is where I need to be. And so, but what's happened once I really started understanding my stamp is became an Amazon best-selling author, began coaching, created a coaching company, started speaking nationally. What the interesting thing about this is my career as a physician became more fulfilling. Like it became more fulfilling. I was able to create an exit strategy out of the ER, work primarily in my clinical world as a physician in the sports medicine, which I like more, and then also combine that with coaching. So this came with income, right? And my personal life improved. I was somebody who was, more welcome to be around, a better husband, father. I mean, it really trickled into multiple aspects of my life. And most importantly, it came with a level of freedom and fulfillment. And when I say freedom, I'm not talking about the way some people describe freedom, like financial freedom. I can do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want. I really don't look at freedom as that. I look at freedom as the ability to align with what you were designed to do. The ability to be aligned with what you were designed to do, and to do that as a choice. Because I know a lot of people who are, quote unquote, financially free or make a lot of money, but still live in bondage because they still don't feel like they're doing what they were designed to do. There's a lack of fulfillment in it. They're still feeling like there's something else. And you will still, no matter how rich you are, you will still feel poor until you find what your stamp is on the world. Okay. So that's my goal for you. My goal is fulfillment. My goal for you is to feel fulfilled, like your cup is full. And I want you to imagine what that would be like. I want you to imagine what that would feel like to live a fulfilled life as a physician, as a doc. When it comes to the professions in the world out there, one of the highest suicide rates is in physicians. I think it's top 3, right? And many of us who are not fulfilled. But I want you to imagine what that would feel like, to be able to wake up being fulfilled, that practicing medicine actually becomes fulfilling, that you have gotten full clarity on that stamp, on that unique, specific solution to a meaningful problem, and you are solving that problem. And it's rewarding, and it brings forth significance, not just to you, but to the lives of others. And there's impact on the lives of others, on individuals or businesses, but it's your unique, specific impact. I want you to imagine what that would feel like, because it's possible. And that's what I'm here for. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the one thing I guess it's a few things, but they're very similar. To help you do that, I want you to subscribe to this podcast, More Than Medicine podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. I want you to leave a review, and I want you to share this podcast with another physician who desires to have greater impact, who desires to live a more fulfilling life. All right. So again, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share this with someone else. I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this first episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I look forward to going on this journey with you, and just here to remind you that, yes, there is more than medicine, and yes, you are more than medicine. See you soon.